After the chaos that ensued at the conclusion of the British Grand Prix, Pirelli is going to be launching an investigation. Darlington might host race fans for their annual Southern 500, and Bubba Wallace could potentially be getting a new contract, and it involves a very big pay raise. Yo, what is up everyone, my name is Jack Krause and welcome back to the episode of Inside the Lines. Back to back. We did one I think on Saturday, another one on Sunday, yesterday, and now we have one here on Monday. Jesus Christ, it's nearly 2 o'clock in the morning. I need something to keep me awake. Give me 1 second. Okay, kids, don't try this at home. Don't worry guys, it's Coke. It's not beer. Alright, okay. Now we can do this episode. So let's start off with Formula 1. For those of you that watched the 2020 British Grand Prix yesterday in Silverstone, the first 49 laps were boring, to say the least. Your typical F1 race, at least nowadays, with Lewis Hamilton absolutely demolishing the field. Well, all of that came to a very chaotic beginning with 3 laps ago. His teammate Valtteri Bottas was one of 3 drivers to have deflations on their tires. With Bottas, it happened to him, like I said, with 3 laps ago, which dropped him from 2nd to 11th at the finish line. And then on the final lap, Carlos Sainz from McLaren also suffered a deflation, which dropped him to 13th at the final stretch at the start-finish line. And then finally, Lewis Hamilton also suffered a deflation on the final lap and basically had to make the entire circuit on 3 wheels. Now, unlike the 2 other drivers that have fallen victim to having tire punctures, Hamilton was able to nurse his way to the start-finish line to win the British Grand Prix. Now, even though what we saw was to be honest, a quite incredible finish, to say the least. I mean, I don't think it's something that we have seen in F1 in quite some time. It did spark a bit of outrage, I guess you could say, from Pirelli, the tire manufacturer for Formula 1. Now, they announced that day that they're going to be doing a full 360 angle investigation on exactly what happened during those final 3 laps in Silverstone. Now, the boss of Pirelli, Mario Isola, hopefully I pronounced that right. He says while the cause of the failures are not yet known, he does speculate that the possibility could be suggested that the debris on the racetrack could contributed to those tire failures. Remember, Kimi Räikkönen suffered a front wing failure during the closing laps of that race, and it could potentially, with that debris on the racetrack, drivers run over it, and it could cause those tire failures. Now, it's also important to understand that the drivers ran a much longer stint on the hard tires than expected. This was due to the accident with Daniel Kvyat in the early stages of the race that led to most of the field pitting on laps 12 and 13, with only Romain Grosjean with Haas staying out. Now, the boss of Pirelli, Mario Isola, posted a statement regarding what happened on Sunday. He said, quote, "We obviously investigate what happened in these last few laps. It's a bit early now to give you any conclusion. It could be high wear, because for sure, tires with 38 laps or more on this circuit are quite worn. But I'm not saying that the wear is the cause of the issue. It can be debris, because we had the pieces of the front wing of Kimi that were on track, but also some other debris. So that's why we want to investigate not only the tires with a failure, but also the tires used in the last few laps of the race, to understand if we find any other cut or any other possible indication on what happened. We don't want to exclude anything. We want to analyze everything 360 degrees and avoid excluding any possibility, because it's a big mistake when you make these kinds of investigations. We have to consider all the possibilities. What we can do is to analyze the tires from the race to understand if there's anything in the construction that was subject to excessive stress or whatever. But this is one of the investigations. Now, Isola stressed that the high wear makes tires much more vulnerable, but he also concluded with the statement saying that because another race has come up in Silverstone just 1 week later with the 70th anniversary Grand Prix, he said that it is very important that Pirelli has all the answers. And I think he even said in that little article from Motorsports.com that they hope to have it done by Tuesday. Now, despite what happened on Sunday, Isola downplayed any suggestion that Pirelli would have to change a choice on which tire compound they bring in next Sunday. Now we move on from Formula 1 to the world of NASCAR at the Darlington Raceway. Remember, they are going to host their annual Southern 500 next month, and up until now, there haven't been any words speculating on whether there will be fans in attendance or not. Now, due to the latest executive order from Governor Henry McMaster, I should say, my apologies there, along with the possible clearance by the State Department of Commerce, there could be a strong possibility that the Darlington Raceway will host the Southern 500 with fans. Now, McMaster's current order instructs that venues like sports stadiums can host up to 250 or 50% of the fans according to their occupied venue. So I believe Darlington Raceway has 40,000 fans, if I'm not mistaken. So basically half of that, 20,000. But it's also, according to those sports stadiums, they can host even more fans if the Department of Commerce approves their request to have more fans in attendance. If they can show social distancing that can still take place even with more fans than the 50%. So for example, like temperature checks or mask wearing or things of that nature. Honestly, I hope that fans are going to be able to attend this race. Specifically, with the Crown Jewel races, it's much better with fans in attendance. I don't really care about the Brickyard, but, tracks like Daytona, Coke 600 even, when that had 0 fans, it was kind of, it just felt off. Specifically Darlington, which I think has now risen up to one of the most exciting races of the entire year, specifically with the throwback weekend style into it. I think it's just better to have fans in attendance. It's like an experience with the throwback weekend, that sort of old school style. With the new era of NASCAR, that mixing together, I think it makes it an experience rather than just a normal race event. And I think it'd be very disappointing if there was no fans in attendance. So thank you that this new executive order comes out, because I would really like to see fans in attendance, specifically at Darlington. It's a track that hosts great racing. It's a major event. I think it's only right that it has fans. And now on to our final story. And this is a huge story regarding Bubba Wallace. Now, we talked about, I think on Saturday's episode, I believe, how Bubba Wallace was negotiating with the possibility of going from either staying at Richard Petty Motorsports or going to Chip Ganassi Racing in the 42 car. Well, news came out on Sunday, I should say, of a huge offer that Richard Petty Motorsports is offering to Bubba Wallace. Now, the owner of Richard Petty Motorsports, Andrew Murstein, commented on the decisions that are going on which drivers they could be looking at for next year. He said that they've been approached recently by 3 other drivers to drive the 43 car, including one star. He doesn't mention that star's name. It could be Keselowski. It could be someone like maybe Eric Jones. No one knows of yet. But they also want to, their main focus is to re-sign Bubba. And they have offered Bubba a huge pay raise for next year. How huge? Well, it involves an ownership stake in the company. I'm not joking. Richard Petty Motorsports is willing to offer Bubba Wallace a stake in ownership of the entire company to stay with the team. Now, as for when that deal could get done, or at least an update on Bubba Wallace's future in NASCAR, at least at Richard Petty Motorsports, Murnstein said that they could expect an agreement to be finalized within the next couple weeks. However, he also said this, quote, "We went from probably having 1 meeting a week with a potential sponsor to 5 the last 5 weeks or so. I think Bubba is probably the most recognizable NASCAR driver now, other than Richard Petty. So we've got probably the 2 most recognizable names in the sport. It's a marketer's dream." And it is. Now, you have to understand why Bubba Wallace is now probably the most recognizable face of NASCAR. I don't think I need to explain it to you. Black Lives Matter movement and what happened at Talladega. I think that automatically should let you know what happened. But I understand why some people might think, oh my God, Bubba Wallace, he has to take this deal. Not necessarily. Bubba said, I think this took place during the NBC race broadcast at New Hampshire. He's got options. It wasn't like last time when he was in the Xfinity series, where Richard Petty Motorsports was literally his only option to stay in NASCAR. That was his only spot. Now in 2020, he's got options. He could go to Richard Petty Motorsports, but he could also go to Chip Ganassi. Hell, there are even reports saying that he's a candidate for the 48 car at Hendrick Motorsports. He's got options now. So, and I think an ownership stake, I don't think is going to help their case. And I think the reason why is I don't think Bubba wants anything to do with an ownership. I think he just wants to go out there and race. I don't think he wants to worry about all the ins and outs that go into the day-to-day operations of owning a team or being a part owner of a team. And even though Pirelli Motorsports, they are coming up, they're performing much better than the previous years. I think since 2017, where Eric Almirola was a driver, they've gotten much better, but they are nowhere near top 5 weekly contenders. You know, it's going to take, I think, even a couple more years for them to get to that state of where they could be in the top 10 every week or be in the top 5 every week. And I don't think Bubba wants to wait that long. We know Bubba can drive. And I think he knows that, hey, I've got options now for a better ride, like Hendrick or like Chip Ganassi Racing. And I think Richard Petty offering, or RPM offering, an ownership stake in that contract, they're basically begging. They're on their knees. They want Bubba to stay. They're willing to do everything, throw everything at the kitchen sink in order to keep Bubba. But I don't know if an ownership stake is going to work. I think Bubba just wants a better car. Just one, that's it. I don't think he really cares, like I said, about the day-to-day operations of what goes on in a team. He just wants a car that can win. And unfortunately, JettMDK Motorsports is not that team that can get the job done. Chip Ganassi, on the other hand, that's a team that can get you to victory lane. Hendrick Motorsports, even though they're not as good, they're a team that can help you get to victory lane. So I'm not gonna say what Bubba Wallace should do, but if I was in his shoes, I don't think I would take that deal. Having an ownership stake to me just doesn't make sense for Bubba. It just doesn't. But honestly, it's a very tricky, but also kind of fun thing that Bubba Wallace is going to be going through these next few weeks, because again, he's got options. He can now pick and choose. I can go here, I can go there, or I can go there. That's a cool thing to have as a driver. Unlike where he was back in 2017, when he was basically left out of a ride, had to be let go for Roush Fenway due to sponsorship issues, and literally he had no other choice. He had to go to JettMDK Motorsports. It was that or not race at all. Or he could race, but race in the back market team. At least you're racing for one of the famous numbers in NASCAR. But times are changing, I think, between 2017 and 2020. And I think Bubba Wallace, he's going to take a very long and very hard look into his future at NASCAR. But I won't be surprised if he doesn't take up on that ownership stake at JettMDK Motorsports. In fact, I still see him being at Chip Ganassi Racing. I think that's a perfect fit for him. Him being having Kurt Busch as a teammate, a guy with experience. I think he can learn a lot from Kurt, and just that environment as a whole at Chip Ganassi Racing, I think is going to help him greatly. He's already got a sponsor with McDonald's that are going to, that already has a relationship with Chip Ganassi. Everything is just pointing to Bubba, to Chip Ganassi. And I know JettMDK Motorsports, they really want him. That's why they give him that ownership stake. But if it's not going to bring results on the racetrack, like if it's not like right away, I don't think Bubba's going to take it. But that's ultimately my thoughts on this story. And now I pass the question off to you. Who do you think is going to take Bubba Wallace's offer? Do you think it's going to be Chip Ganassi? Do you think he could be going to Hendrick? Or do you think he could take up on that ownership stake and stay at RPM? Love to hear you guys' thoughts down below. But that will conclude this episode of Inside the Lines. The glass is halfway full, but I'll get this done. I'll probably chug it down in a bit, but because I gotta stay up and edit this thing. It's now 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh boy, the life of a YouTuber. The grind does not stop. But before I go, I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support you've been giving this channel these past couple weeks. The amount of support you guys have been giving me in the comments, from the like bars to the views, have just been incredible. So I want to say thank you all again for your support. And yeah, that's enough for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe for more content. But until next time, my name is Jack Cross from MDK, and I'll see you guys next time.